Colombia reports the first massacre of 2022 was registered. At least 17 people were killed in different parts of the department of Arauca. China's Central Weather Bureau reported on Monday a strong earthquake that struck off the coast of eastern Taiwan. Thousands of Iraqis gathered on Sunday to pay tribute to late Lieutenant General Soleimani, commander of the Quds Force of the Islamic Revolution Guard Corps, and Untitled Al-Muhandis, the late deputy commander of the Iraqi Popular Mobilization Units. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, QUESADA is from the south. I'm your anchor, GLADYS QUESADA, and these are the news. Systematic violence does not stop in Colombia. This Sunday, the first massacre of 2022 was registered. At least 17 people were killed in different parts of the department of Arauca. The mayor of the municipality of Arauquita, Etelio Torrer, reported that as of 6 p.m., 17 people had been confirmed dead in the vicinity of the municipalities of Arauquita, Saravena, Fortul, and Tame. The official affirmed that the deaths had occurred in the midst of confrontations between dissidents of the former FARC and the ELN. He also warned that hundreds of people are likely to be displaced after these deaths. Unofficial figures speak of more than 20 dead in the zone. On the other hand, a Colombian mother appealed to human rights organizations to find the whereabouts of her son, who had been kidnapped from his home by an armed group in the town of La Paz in Arauquita. Whereabouts of my son. An armed group came to the house where he lives and took him away, so please help me find him. My son's name is Anderson Camacho Salcedo. He lives in the center of La Paz. An armed group arrived shooting, terrorizing the civilian population without knowing why, and they took my son away. Now we move on to other topics. The president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro Moros, in an interview granted to the Spanish journalist and intellectual Ignacio Ramonet, addressed issues of common interest, in which he reflected upon the adverse situation generated by the coercive measures imposed by the United States.
Not easy, because the blockade and the sanctions have created problems in public services, problems in the daily life of the people, and a part of the population does not understand that it is because of sanctions, and has created confusion and discomfort in part of the population, which is not what they are looking for. What the American imperialism looks for when it squeezes a country and tries to crush it, as it has done with Venezuela, is creating confusion, annoyance, and protest. That is what they are looking for with their unilateral coercive measures, the persecution of economy, the public finances, and trade.
President Maduro accused the Washington government of sabotaging the dialogues that were being held in Mexico with the country's oppositions.
Say that we were already entering into the big issues, topics like re-institutionalization of Venezuela, of the economy, of the criminal sanctions, of everything. I mean the life of a country. And once again, when we were already entering into the big issues that had been pre-agreed, when we were going to give good and great news for the country, once again, the government of the United States, the State Department, took an action that they knew beforehand was going to provoke the breakdown of the dialogues. Do you think it was sabotage? I think it was sabotage. I expressly think so. I have no doubt that it was sabotage by the government of the United States against the dialogues in Mexico, because we talked about it with the government of the United States.
President Maduro made a balance of the government's management as well as the management of the pandemic.
2021, the Brazilian variants arrived here. The two Brazilian variants, the most lethal Delta variant arrived here. They all entered through Colombia and Brazil. And now we have just detected the Omicron variant. We have maintained in relation to the world an exemplary control over the pandemic, especially what they call the developed world. The United States, Europe, and all those countries regarding infections and deaths and percentages too. We have used the 7+7 method when we started to advance in vaccination. We had already vaccinated 40% of the population. We restarted on-site classes, and we also allowed flexibility with biosecurity measures, but total flexibility. This is how November and December have worked, and it has been spectacular, with people in the streets, in public squares, boulevards, parks, parties. It has been a truly tremendous Christmas. People are happy, and despite the great movement of people, our people take care of themselves. They really take care of themselves.
In economic matters, the president reported a growth of more than 7% in the last half of 2021.
Eliminated 6 zeros from the Bolivar, and from a psychological point of view, we strengthened the management of the Bolivar. Within a general framework of economic improvement, the launching of the digital Bolivar, our digital currency, has been very well accepted by the population as a result of this set of measures. In a systematic, sustained, and coherent manner, the Venezuelan economy is now in a clear period of recovery. I can tell you that we have recovered economic growth, and in the second semester of the year 2021, we are having an economic growth of 7.5%. This means that the economy, with its own engine, with its own strength, the real economy, has taken the path of economic growth. This is the great news, the non-oil economy.
The Argentinian Nobel Peace Prize winner Adolfo Pérez Esquivel, who suffered a compensation this Sunday in Champademal and was hospitalized in the city of Mar del Plata, is in stable condition, according to the medical report. According to the Peace and Justice Service, after taking the Argentinian activist and artist's blood pressure as well as other vital signs and given him medication, he was reported as stable and will be under observation for 24 hours. Several local media had affirmed that the 90-year-old Nobel Peace Prize winner had suffered from this neurological affectation. However, this information was discarded after medical studies. And we'll be right back after this very short break, so don't go away. Welcome back. China's Central Weather Bureau reported on Monday a strong earthquake that struck off the coast of eastern Taiwan. The Weather Bureau said the quake was of a 6.0 magnitude and hit at the depth of 19 kilometers. The shake was felt over about 20 seconds, with buildings moving side to side, but with no damage reports. Taiwan is regularly hit by earthquakes as the island lies near the junction of two tectonic plates. The heavy rains that hit Brazil have already caused 25 deaths in Bahia and another 6 in Minas Gerais. Started in early October, the phenomenon that caused the intense rains in the north and center-east of the country was supposed to be over by this Sunday. The situation is more critical in Bahia, where 33,000 people are homeless. Another 58,000 were displaced and 500 injured. On Sunday, January the 2nd, the northeastern state had 165 municipalities affected, and also 153 of them declared an emergency situation. As for Minas Gerais, according to the civil defense, the rains have caused 6 deaths, left 3,000 people homeless, and displaced another 13,000. However, December the 2nd was marked as the last day when a humid and unstable air mass will cause above-average storms and rains in the southeastern and midwestern regions of Brazil. At least 1 person is dead and thousands temporarily displaced by heavy floods that hit the island of Sumatra in Indonesia. 4 days of heavy rains triggered the floods in Aceh province, according to Indonesia's Disaster Mitigation Agency. Local administrations have declared a 14-day emergency, and temporary shelters have been set up in different locations to accommodate those whose homes are underwater. Deadly landslides and flash floods are common in Southeast Asian archipelago during the rainy season, which began in September. Thousands of people were forced to flee in the face of increasingly severe flooding caused by torrential rains in 7 Malaysian states, which have already displaced 125,000 residents in total since mid-December. About 50 people have so far lost their lives in the floods, and 2 others are missing, according to police sources. The Asian country suffers from flooding every year, which regularly generates massive evacuations. But the authorities were caught off guard by non-stop rains that began on December 17th, causing flooding and inundating the cities. Selangor, the country's richest and most densely populated state, which surrounds the capital Kuala Lumpur, is one of the most affected regions. Some 117,000 people evacuated since mid-December were able to return to their homes, but about 10,000 others had to take refuge in relief centers, according to official data. Now we move on to other topics. The Venezuelan government informed that this Monday will begin the booster vaccination day against COVID-19. The president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro Moros, took to Twitter to announce the vaccination day and the booster shot importance. Maduro also indicated that 91% of the population has already been vaccinated against the SARS-CoV-2 and asked his fellow citizens to continue taking care of themselves. The application of the booster shots will begin with health personnel, followed by the elderly. In Bulgaria, health authorities reported the detection of 12 positive cases of the Omicron variant of COVID-19. Sanitary Inspector Angel Kunchev said that 7 of the infected people have not been vaccinated and 1 had traveled abroad. Kunchev said that those infected do not have serious symptoms and are isolated in their homes. Authorities warned that a rapid dissemination of Omicron is expected throughout the European nation until it becomes the dominant variant in the country. Chile starts in January with the 4th dose of the vaccine against COVID-19. The Chilean Ministry of Health, Enrique París, confirmed this Sunday that the booster vaccination against COVID-19 will start this month. According to him, the booster will be oriented to the immunosuppressed population, the elderly and the health staff in the first instance. He also pointed out that the outgoing president, Sebastián Piñera, will make the announcement during the week. The decision is reported in the context of the sharp increase in cases worldwide due to the appearance of the Omicron variant, for which the health authority expects a sustained increase in the number of infections throughout the country.
We're going to start in January with the 4th dose, but always thinking about the people who have immunodeficiencies, who are older adults, probably people who work in the public health system or in the private health system, people who work in health.
Italy is just a few days away from the introduction of further restrictions for the unvaccinated of January 10th. Authorities have notified that the daily cases of COVID-19 are close to 100,000. The decree approved by Prime Minister Draghi establishes that capacity will be limited to 50% in outdoor areas and 35% in indoor areas. As of January 10th, the government will extend the requirement to present a vaccination certificate for access to transportation, hotels and rooftops. With coronavirus infections on the rise again, people in Rome agree on the need for more measures.
Green Pass for Green Pass. Done well, I do not understand how so many people have not yet been vaccinated in this country. And seeing the situation as it is now, and also the cases now in January after New Year's Eve, we also need to do something more. Perhaps everything has been set up wrong.
I don't think we can do without restrictions anymore. At this point, I am not saying that vaccination should be compulsory, but at least for work, it is important that everyone should be vaccinated, not so much for the sake of greater safety, but precisely for the sake of protection. And we have more stories coming up after this final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Thousands of Iraqis gather on Sunday to pay tribute to Lieutenant General Qasem Soleimani, commander of the Quds Force of the Islamic Revolution Guard Corps, and also Abu Hamadi Al-Muhandis, the deputy commander of the Iraqi Popular Mobilization Units. Both were assassinated on January 3, 2020 by a terrorist attack perpetrated by the United States. As a tribute to their deaths, thousands of Iraqis gathered this Sunday at the Baghdad airport, near the military installations of the United States occupation troops, known as Victory Base, where they were victims of an U.S. air raid. During the activities, the people lit candles at the site of the heroes who led the fight against terrorism, sang the Iraqi national anthem, and condemned the U.S. presence in the Iraqi territory. The spokesperson of the Iraqi Popular Mobilization Units, Haider Sultan, expressed his opinion in this sense.
We celebrate the second anniversary of the martyrdom of Abu Mahdi Al-Muhandis Qasem Soleimani and their comrades near the Baghdad International Airport. In fact, this public and official presence near the scene of the crime is a message of protest to the United States of America that the Iraqis do not want their forces to remain inside Iraq.
The event was also attended by the daughter of the murdered Lieutenant General Zainab Soleimani, who pointed out that the times of oppression by the U.S. imperialism are coming to an end. The horizon of the severe revenge against the enemies whose hands were stained with the blood of the leaders of victory. It will not be long before the tears of farewell will turn into the tears of victory. Demonstrations in several Palestinian cities demanded the release of prisoner Hisham Abu Hawash, who has been on hunger strike for 139 days. The deteriorating health condition of Hawash, 40 years old, who this Sunday was close to death, provoked multiple demonstrations and international reactions. The Palestinian prisoner continues the measure in rejection of this arbitrary detention in an Israeli jail without being charged or tried. The International Committee of the Red Cross, the ICRC, stated on Saturday that the medical teams that visited Abu Hawash found him in critical condition and declared themselves concerned about the irreversible consequences for his health and his possible tragic death.
Palestinian political prisoners are subject to horrible oppression by Israel. They are also subject to administrative detention, which means that people are arrested without even being charged, without knowing why they are arrested. Abu Hawash is one of them. He has been on hunger strike for 130 days and more, and his life is now threatened. He is on the verge of death. This could create a big explosion in the Palestinian territory.
Sudanese Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok resigns after deadly protests in less than 2 months after having signed a political agreement with the military. On Sunday, the minister said a roundtable discussion is needed to come to a new agreement. Hamdok, a former United Nations official seen as the civilian face of Sudan's transitional government, was reinstated in November amid international pressure. That deal, however, was rejected by the pro-democracy movement, which insists that power be handed over to a fully civilian government tasked with leading the transition. Thousands of Sudanese pro-democracy protesters rallied Sunday outside the presidential palace in Khartoum, braving tear gas, a mass deployment of armed soldiers, and a telecommunications blackout. Internet and the cell phones have not worked since the morning, and security forces were perched on armored vehicles with heavy machine guns watching passers-by.
I have decided to announce my resignation, paving the way for another man or woman from the people of our generous country to carry on the leadership of our beloved country.
Libya is facing a grave situation of illegal migrants as the political instability is now stretching into 2022, said Ahmed Hamza, head of Libya's National Commission for Human Rights, on Friday. Hundreds of thousands of migrants are in Libya living in dire conditions, which include abuse, sexual assault, and trafficking, while waiting for the right moment to find a way into Europe. The International Organization for Migration, the IOM, estimated that at least 1,500 migrants drowned in the central Mediterranean in 2021, and more than 30,000 have been intercepted or rescued. According to Hamza, stopping asylum seekers from moving into Europe is not the solution. The route must be addressed, and there must be a comprehensive strategy which aims to develop nations, people, and achieve stability. As division remains in Libya, Europe has been reluctant to send rival governments most of the help it promised.
estimated 700,000 to 800,000 migrants in Libya. They are clustered in Libya's northern coastal cities and southern border cities. We should support Libyan authorities to improve its ability to control its southern border. To stop these waves of huge numbers of migrants, there must be a comprehensive strategy which aims to develop nations, people, and achieve stability.
More than 80 Palestinians were injured Saturday amid Israeli repression in the occupied West Bank. The Palestinian Red Crescent reported that 88 Palestinians were injured by the Israeli military repression in areas of Burqa village near the city of Nablus. The doctors said that most of those affected had inhaled tear gas. Attacks by Israeli military and settlers against Palestinian population are being carried out in Burqa region for the third consecutive week. And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For TeleSUR English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.